Hello everyone and welcome to episode 8 of Onca Wildlife Centre. In today's episode I'm building for the Cuviers Dwarf Caiman, and this is just going to be our start to the new wetland dome, also the flooded forest dome. But before I tell you more details about this, let's move on to today's story. So, Ashlynn Finch, our head director at Onca Wildlife Centre, got an anonymous call from a stranger she haven't heard before, obviously, to say that their father has sadly passed away and he has owned a pair of Cuviers Dwarf Caiman in his basement. They don't know how long they've had them or that he had them at all, but are scared about going down there. So, our head zookeeper for the flooded forest, her name is Sylvia Martinez, and she is from Mexico originally and moved to South America to pursue her speciality in caimans and other crocodiles. She has worked in many places, such as Florida, to work with the American alligators and crocodiles over there, but she has also worked all the way down in Australia with some saltwater crocodiles too, and she is now moving for the first time to South America to join Ashlynn in her mission to saving these caimans in the new flooded forest dome that she is now the director of. So, Sylvia Martinez managed to save these two caiman very easily from the basement of this stranger. Luckily, the caiman are very well fed and did not have any harm, but did have to go through a isolation period in our quarantine just to make sure they don't have any diseases before being released into the dome just before it opens in a couple of days' time. With the arrival of these two caimans, I need two names to go with each one. So if you guys do have any recommendations for what we should name these guys, please name it down in the comments. So let's get into the facts of today's videos, and then I'll do a little chat about the future of this dome afterwards. So the Cuviers Dwarf Caiman is the small crocodilian in the alligator family. It's found in northern and central South America, but it's also kept in captivity as a pet and is also very common due to the small size of it, so it can be easily kept. It was discovered in 1807 by George Cuvier, who was a French zoologist, and they're very popular nowadays, mainly just due to their size and how small they are. They're only around about 1 to 2 meters and they only weigh about 8 kilograms, which is, I think, around 13–15 pounds. So they're quite small. They're part of the smallest family of caiman, which is the Paleosuchus. And the Paleosuchus family is actually the smallest member of the crocodilia in the Americas, and it kind of goes off the paleo, which means sort of ancient old, and Sucos, which has been turned to Suchus, meaning the crocodile god Sobek, which is Egyptian, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, the crocodile lives for around 20 to 60 years. That obviously ranges from captivity to in the wild. And the Cuvier dwarf caiman is quite sturdy. They're also known as the smooth-fronted caiman, and they're known to be very resilient. They can take attacks from jaguars, although they are known to be some of the prey of the jaguar. But they have very strong body armor, and they're extremely, sturdy for the size of them. They can take down um, things like small rodents, capybara, they could even go for, and stuff like that. So they're very strong, and they are found in nearby lakes. They don't range to the south of South America necessarily, or found near our Onca Wildlife Centre necessarily, but they are found in flooded forests and other sort of river environments, and they obviously live in the water, so they don't want to go too far away. So they do actually kind of go into this hibernation state. It's called aestivate, where they stay in a burrow to stay cool during the dry season, so that when they come out during the wet season, they have lots of water they can hunt and go around in. So these adult caimans are usually found in singles or in pairs, no larger than that, and they communicate with each other through sounds, movement, posture, smells, and touch, the usual. And when threatened, so if you come across these guys in the wild, they will usually inflate their bodies to seem bigger, and they will also hiss very aggressively. So they're very important for their ecosystems, mainly due to their diet habits, and they also maintain a balance of organisms as they kind of eat fish like piranhas. So they kind of just had this sort of keep the populations down within the rivers. The eggs and newly hatched young are preyed sadly on by birds, snakes, rats, raccoons, all the other stuff that eat eggs in South America. That's mainly just because, they're quite small, so they're quite easily preyed upon by the larger birds like harpy eagles. I don't know if they do eat them, but I know birds like that do live there. So the adults are protected by bony osteoderms. So the little sort of scales are called osteoderms. It's quite a fun word to say. And their main predator, as I said before, is the jaguar, but they are also known to be eaten by anacondas and large boa constrictors. So, as I said at the start, the Cuviers Dwarf Caiman is the smallest living New World crocodilian, which just means sort of the recent times. And it is suggested that the dwarf caimans are the world's most abundant crocodilians. They're very common and found all across South America and specifically in the river. Oh, I don't know how many of them are in the wild. I'm pretty sure there's quite a lot, as in the IUCN Red List they are classified as least concern, so they are quite common during their range, but I don't think there is around a population estimate just because of how much there are. They're not really that threatened, but talking about threats, they are mainly threatened by the mining of gold, intensive agriculture, and urbanization of cities. They are also killed by indigenous people for traditional medicine and food, and as I said before, they are very common in the pet trade too, just because of their small size. So that's the facts for today's video, and I just want to talk about the habitat for a brief second. So this habitat was actually inspired by I think it's called the monsoon forest at Chester Zoo. When I went there, the monsoon forest gave me a massive idea for the sort of idea that it's a very wet rainforest. So I really wanted to emphasize the flooded forests that are commonly found in South America during the wet season. So I thought this was a good idea, but when I started this series, I haven't been there yet, so I started the capybara. So originally I would have had the capybara here, so that's a bit of a shame, sadly, that it's over there. And it's quite a good emergence when you go past the river where you go through the giant otter and the capybara. But anyway, it's just a couple of common South America animals at the entrance, and then we get into the crocodiles. So this is almost like a reptile house. So you will see what happens there. So next to the dwarf caiman, we're going to have the spectacled caiman. Funny that, because obviously they're both caiman found in South America. We can't have them not be next to each other. The spectacled caiman can have more species, rather than just the two we have here. So they have a much larger habitat where they can live with all their friends. And obviously when they breed, they'll be full to the brim because they breed just like bunny rabbits. They're just everywhere. And on the other side, I'm not 100% sure what's going to be on the land. I originally planned to have the tapir, the Baird's tapir on that side, but I thought maybe incorporating the Baird's tapir with the anteater. So I don't know what is going to go on the other side. I think that's going to have to come at a separate occasion because I was actually going to do this video in with the spectacled caiman, but I wanted to do the spectacled caiman plan around the next animal. So there might, because of the gap in between, because I'm doing Planet Coaster 2, we'll see what happens in between. It'd be a bit interesting to see what happens. So yeah, but I would like to talk about Planet Coaster 2 for a second because the controls in Planet Zoo are just so much better than the ones in Planet Coaster 2. I cannot explain to you how relieving it is to come back to this game and have like the multi-select just holding control. The simple things like this that are for PC players like us, it's just so much easier because when you go to play Planet Coaster 2, if any of you have watching this, you'll find that you just seem to work your way around everything and it takes 10 times longer and it's just there's while there is an ease element to it, like the UI, in my opinion, is much better than it was before, like the layout. It's just the general gist of finding things at first is really, really overwhelming, especially coming from a PC standpoint. It's just super overwhelming. And I can see why console players specifically find it a little bit easier than us PC players because we're not used to automatically colouring separately each individual piece and copying that over. So definitely a change of pace for us. And I personally have grown accustomed to the new tool they added a couple of updates ago in Planet Zoo, where you can select a whole group and it colours a single item. Well, the group of items. So I'm just not used to that just yet. I am getting used to Planet Coaster 2 though, and I have done a little bit off camera, but I'll show you that next video, so don't worry about that. Sadly, it is the end of today's video. So if you did enjoy, make sure you subscribe to this channel and like down below. However, if you do want to be named after the Cuviers Dwarf Caiman, please leave it down below. We do have an albino one, so if you do want to come up with any fun names for that one, please leave it down below. And I will see you on the next one when we build for another crocodile too. See you soon. Bye.